This episode is sponsored by BetterHelp. The holidays are over, the decorations are down, and suddenly everything feels a little empty. It's normal to feel the winter blues after the holiday excitement. January, February, and March are by far my least favorite months of the year. It's cold and dark, and I have to get some extra vitamin D on board. I also need to keep my regular scheduled appointments with my therapist. So if you're feeling that post-holiday funk, I definitely suggest you checking out BetterHelp because maybe it's time to talk. You might also be one of those people like me who makes New Year's resolutions and you get super motivated. So maybe you need someone behind you to hold you accountable and come up with a plan to meet your goals. BetterHelp is super convenient, totally online. You have a therapist right at your fingertips whenever you need them. So head over to betterhelp.com/wifeofcrime1 to get 10% off your first month. That's betterhelp.com/wifeofcrime1 for 10% off your first month.
This podcast is an unscripted, unedited conversation about true crime. We take the cases very seriously, but I don't take myself seriously at all. And neither should you. Welcome to Wife of Crime.
So, Russ, there are so many cases that we talk about where the circumstances surrounding someone's death is just something so average, something that all of us do on a daily basis. But this person or people got caught up in a bad situation. And it's terrifying to think this could happen to any of us. This is the case of the Tylenol murders. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Wife of Crime, a true crime podcast where I tell my husband, Russ, true crime stories and he reacts to them.
What's up, folks? It's your boy Russ, a.k.a. the Profiler Extraordinaire.
Oh, nice AKA.
Yeah, I got better. I'm getting better. I used to be a profiler, but now I'm a Profiler Extraordinaire just because I'm doing extraordinary things. So cheers to the extraordinary.
Cheers to the extraordinaire.
Extraordinary.
Wow. Lots of extraordinaire, lots of terms here. We put out our 2022 wrap up yesterday, I think it was, and everybody's loving it. I think it's going to be a thing. We need to do it every year.
You know, well, that means we're going to be here for years. It's possible. You know what else was left in 2022 that we forgot?
What?
We left Kawaba weight in 2022. We still get message about you Kawaba waiting.
We did.
And speaking of Kawaba waiting,
oh,
Barbara Wawa died.
Barbara Walters died. That's actually pretty sad. That's like an end of an era for people in our age group and before us.
That's like older age group, end of an era. Well, I guess, yeah, she was the adult in our life.
Yeah. I mean, I remember her when I was a little kid all the way up through adulthood.
Yeah.
Wow, that's sad. But yeah, I mean, even in the 70s, SNL was
making fun of her because she Barbara would say Kawaba weight and stuff like that.
Well, R.I.P. Barbara. And I said corroborate just like her.
Yeah.
So we did our wrap up. Everyone loved it. If you haven't checked it out, go check out our 2022 wrap up. We talk about, our favorite moments from the year. And then we also give an award for review of the year.
I didn't know I was going to do that till the day of when we spoke about we're going to do a wrap up. Mm-hmm. I'm like, I do a review of the week and I've been doing it steady. And, so it's probably been about a year or so. So that means there's about 26 reviews of the week.
There's way more than that. You've been doing it for way longer than a year.
Oh. And review of the year, we want to know a prize. Hopefully you hit us up.
Yeah, they haven't hit us up yet. So where are you at? Do you still listen?
That's right. I didn't want to buy you nothing anyway.
Also,
no, but you know what?
What?
There is one wrap up that's better than ours.
What?
We were the second best wrap up. Every year, I wait for Uncle Murder's wrap up.
Yes, you do wait for Uncle Murder's wrap up.
He kills everyone.
He does. He just pretty much roasts everyone.
Like me.
Like
He's
you.
from New York.
It's so true. If you don't know, Uncle Murda is a rapper.
He's not listening.
Well, no, he's not. But people don't listen to rap. Not everyone who listens to us listen to rap.
They got Google.
Well, he's a rapper, and he puts out a wrap up for the year, and it's pretty funny. And he roasts everyone, literally.
Made fun of Kanye and all that. How Pete Davidson, he went crazy once Pete Davidson took his wife.
Well, yeah, he did.
Yeah, another win for New York.
Also, in true crime news this week, we got some pretty crazy news about the Idaho college student murders. They now have a suspect in custody, and his name is Brian Kohberger. And I did a TikTok about it, just talking about everything we know. Brian Kohberger is a 28-year-old graduate student who apparently murdered these people. Well, he's the suspect in the case.
Nah, he did it.
He's a graduate student who is a PhD student studying at the Washington State University Department of Criminal Justice and Criminology, which is kind of insane.
Not really, because anybody go to community college and study anything.
He's a PhD student, which means he's been studying this for like 8 years.
Yeah, but he's a clown. He's a fucking corn. This dude, he wasn't like a super smart dude that happened to pull this off. He was a creep in high school, scared all the girls.
Yeah, he did.
He was a heroin addict.
He was? I didn't know that.
Yeah, so he wasn't super smart.
No, I didn't say he was super smart. I just said he studied criminology, which is crazy.
I personally don't care if you do heroin. That's your own business.
I didn't know he did heroin.
Yeah, and he was a creep.
Yeah, I heard he was a creep.
He went to this bar in, he was in Pennsylvania. He went to a brewery, and in this bar, they scan your ID, and the bartender does every time you come in. So they scan it, and they could leave notes by your name.
Yeah.
Which is interesting. I wish I would have had that.
Yeah.
And the notes by his name is like, this guy's super fucking creepy.
Wow.
Like, keep an eye on him.
See, I didn't even know that. You know more about this than I do.
Because I know everything.
Wow.
I'm the profiler.
I didn't know that I knew he was a creep in high school, but I didn't know about that story about the brewery. So that's more recent.
And we go to the Poconos.
Yeah, we've gone a few times.
Yeah, what's that brewery? The Barley Creek Brewery. That place is the shit.
Yeah, Barley Creek is really cool. Wow, that's crazy. I didn't know that they wrote notes by his name. It makes sense.
So all the people that always want me to tell a story, there it goes. I just did it.
Yeah, you did. That's it.
And now, in other true crime news, did you see, since today it's not New Year's Day. What's today? The 2nd, probably.
Yeah, the 2nd.
On New Year's Eve in Times Square, there was a fucking kook with a machete that tried to chop 2 cops in the head.
Yeah.
And the 3rd cop shot him.
But he didn't die, though, right?
No, he got shot in the shoulder, and he's in the hospital.
I wonder what hospital he's at. I wonder if he's at my hospital.
Right? What if they would... No, he's in Bellevue. Oh, okay. I know everything, you see? I don't play.
Yeah, you do. You're really up on your research today. So he's at Bellevue right now?
Yeah. These 2 ones... the first one intrigued me, because this guy was a serial killer in the making.
Yeah.
And I wonder... Was there other things? And it also... I saw somewhere that the first guy... We're back on the first...
We're back on... Okay, this is what happens when you tell stories. You bounce around because you have ADD. So we're back on Brian now.
Yeah.
Okay.
They said after the murders, he seemed more outgoing and chipper.
Wow.
Like all of a sudden he came out of his shell. So I bet...
Who said that?
The New York Post. They found it somewhere.
Oh, like I'm not people that knew him.
Put some respect to my details.
Okay.
And... That's how he was.
Wow.
So back to the second guy that chopped the guy now.
Now we're back in the machete guy.
Yeah, stay with me, folks.
Okay.
Keep up. And that dude was like, he wanted to be like an extreme. He was like an extreme. It was like a terror attack.
Oh, so he was trying to like be in the Taliban.
Yeah, so that's crazy. Yeah, he wanted to be in the Taliban, and no one should go watch the ball drop. That's just what it comes down to.
So you're. Sorry, I don't mean to laugh. Your brain is really hard to keep up with sometimes. So moral of the story from the Times Square incident is don't go to watch the ball drop.
For one, the ball doesn't drop. When I was a little kid, I tried to stay up real late and I fell asleep mad years. And one time I finally made it. Mm-hmm. It doesn't drop. They lower it down very slowly.
Yeah, it's true. It goes down
I thought it was going to like drop and boom.
Yeah, no, it's like on a little... It's a machine.
I have no respect for that.
But the cops that
I'm New York mayor, if there's a ball drop, I make it explode, but you can only watch it from TV.
Well,
Keep the streets clear. We're driving here.
The cops that he went after, they all survived, right? Like, no one died.
Yeah, and one of them was a rookie. So I guess a rookie means it's probably his first year.
Wow. They're getting leave with pay for years.
Hope they do. The only people that
I hope they do too.
The only people that should be there with the balls dropping is the police because they're getting paid. The rest of you is freezing your balls off.
That's true. Well, I don't know. This year was pretty mild as far as weather, but most of the years you're freezing. It's so cold out there.
I never met anyone.
It's cold and crowded, and I heard there's no bathroom, so you got to hold your pee the whole time you're there. Well, so that's your true crime news. You did know a lot more than I did about Brian Kohberger. I knew he was a little creepy, but I didn't know all those details.
Yeah, and if a bartender thinks you're creepy and they put notes in, we're good judges of character.
Absolutely. If a bartender thinks you're creepy, you're a creep.
You are creepy, or you're not a good tipper. Because
True.
You could be a piece of shit that tips good, and I'm like, nah, he's all right. Let him live. He tips me $20 every time.
So this month on the Patreon, we are covering a Netflix documentary called Voyeur. And I've been really wanting to watch this documentary for a long time because it seemed really interesting. It's about this guy who specifically bought a hotel, I think in California or something. I don't know. I haven't watched it yet. But he bought a hotel in order to watch people, which
creeps.
is so creepy.
I'm not looking forward to this. Whenever I'm like in an Airbnb or a hotel, I'm like, what if someone put cameras here?
It's true. You never know.
Yeah, and being that like people want to see me on OnlyFans, like they're gonna get the merchandise for free.
God,
I don't want anybody to leak my nudes.
All right. Well, you have the patron shout outs. All the new patrons that joined.
Yo, patrons.
Ready, set, go.
My people, appreciate you guys. This is the first Patreon shout outs of the new year.
Oh yeah.
So we got Amanda, Dawn, Kelly, Lauren, Florence, probably Florence from The Machine, Maria, Erin, AP, Samantha, Amanda, Thomas, Shelby, Cindy, JD, Rachel, Lydia, Mika Lika. That reminds me of like that song PD Pablo, Freak a Leak. And Tara. So,
cheers to you guys.
Cheers to you guys. Appreciate you. And if you're looking for more episodes, you want episodes to listen to of us, go to Patreon. Yes. And if you hate commercials, go over there too.
Yes.
Cheers.
Cheers. All right.
So, as you guys know, we do a review of the week. And next year, I might do a review of the year if I remember.
We are going to do a review of the year. Yes.
So, review of the week goes to, I love these guys from Noah. So it says, honestly sounds like Jess is doing a podcast with Ted the Bear. My teenage daughter's review. Pretty good.
Yeah, that was really good.
I never watched Ted, but I know what it is.
Yeah, I know what it is. He's like a shit-talking bear. He's like a bear that talks shit.
Funny?
Yeah, it's funny. I don't think I've ever seen it either, but I saw the previews. So now I have to watch it.
So cheers to your daughter, Noah.
Cheers to you guys. Okay. So we talk about a lot of crimes on here that completely freak us out because the circumstances surrounding the crimes are like something so average, something so ordinary, like being abducted while going for a jog, being murdered after shopping at Target,
being hit in the head with a machete while at Times Square just trying to have a good time bringing the new year.
Exactly. Being murdered in your own home while you are asleep.
Biggest fear right there.
Just like the college students from Idaho.
I know. That story is so intriguing and it pisses me off at the same time.
The case I'm telling you today is terrifying because the circumstances around it are just so average. Every single person who can hear the sound of my voice right now can identify with these victims. And I guarantee has done what they did at least once in their lives. This is the bizarre case of the Chicago Tylenol Murders. Are you ready?
Yeah, Tylenol.
Yes.
They had a fever.
Well,
I have a fever for more cowbell.
On September 29th, 1982, in a Chicago suburb called Arlington Heights, a 27-year-old man named Adam Janis woke up feeling like a little under the weather. So he decided to call in sick to work.
Much respect. Always call out of work if you can.
He was a postal worker, and it was starting to get a little chilly outside. He felt like it was the beginning of a cold because it's like the beginning of fall. So he thought, okay, I might have like a cold or flu virus coming on. He was feeling a little run down, a headache, a stuffy nose. So in the afternoon, after picking up his 2 kids from preschool, he decided to stop at his local grocery store and get himself some medicine because throughout the day, his symptoms just kept getting worse and worse. He bought a bottle.
Sure he wasn't hungover? Because this happens to you when you're hungover.
No, I'm sure. He bought a bottle of extra strength Tylenol. And when he got home, he decided he needed to take a nap. So he popped 2 Tylenol and went to his room to lay down. When his wife came to check on him a few minutes later, she found Adam in bed convulsing, as if he was having a seizure. She immediately called paramedics, but by the time they arrived, Adam's blood pressure was incredibly low, his pupils were fixed and dilated, and his breathing was very labored. Medics rushed Adam to Northwest Community Hospital, but unfortunately, Adam died shortly after entering the ER. The attending physician, Dr. Kim, declared Adam dead and stated it was a cardiac arrest, but he, along with the other doctors on the unit that night, were unsure of what caused this. He was young, 27 years old, otherwise healthy.
That is young. It's 2 years younger than me.
Yeah. Could it have been a blood clot? Did he have an underlying undiagnosed cardiac condition? Dr. Kim tried to answer the family's questions, but told them that, he's so sorry, but he doesn't know the reason why this young man suddenly died.
Yeah, that's crazy because, you're like, all right, someone has a heart attack and they pass and they're young. Like, especially that young.
Yeah.
Like, what caused it?
Exactly. And he had no idea. So he encouraged them to get an autopsy performed to find the answers. The family and friends of Adam Janis decided to go to the house to support his wife after leaving the ER because his wife was a total mess. Now she has 2 children, very young. They're both in preschool, and she's all alone. So the family went to her house to kind of support her. Multiple members of Adam's family arrived to the home, and they all started talking about funeral arrangements. Later in the evening, Adam's brother Stanley, he started having this really bad migraine. Because he'd been crying for hours over the death of his brother.
Oh, I know where it's going.
And he decided to take 2 Tylenol. And so did his wife, Teresa, because she developed a headache as well. They'd all been crying all day, and they were super stressed out about this. Within a matter of moments, Stanley collapsed on the floor and began foaming at the mouth. Family members called 911, and in the 7 minutes it took them to arrive, Teresa fell to the floor and began foaming at the mouth as well. She even started convulsing.
What would have you done if you were there? Like, what should we do if somebody does that?
Well, if they're having a seizure, you protect their head. So you put a pillow under their head.
So you don't bang their head?
Exactly.
Well, you got to do chest compressions if someone's dead, like
yeah,
for the
if
heart.
someone loses a pulse, you do chest compressions. Yes.
And no more mouth to mouth. No one does that anymore.
No one does that anymore.
It's old school.
Not civilians. Medics have a bag that they put over your mouth.
So there is a time where it could be good if you knew what you were doing.
Well, people just don't do mouth to mouth anymore because of if it's a stranger or something, you don't want to worry about diseases, and you honestly don't want to stop doing chest compressions. You just want to keep getting blood flow to the brain.
Because the chest compressions is more important.
Yeah, you're pumping the heart. So that's more important.
Got it.
The same medics who took Adam to the hospital arrived again. Their shift hasn't even ended yet. They noticed the same symptoms that Adam suffered earlier that day: low blood pressure, labored breathing, pupils fixed and dilated. They immediately rushed both Stanley and Teresa to Northwest Community Hospital. Dr. Kim was about to get off of his shift when the call came through. Other members of the Janis family are being rushed in.
That's crazy. Now you know. Now you could probably narrow it down to what the common denominator is between all three of them.
But no one knew what the common denominator was.
Well, I definitely went 3 people in the same house. It all happened. It's definitely poison. That's where I would have went.
He was shocked when the nurse informed him the medics are en route with Adam's sister-in-law and brother, and they were both in cardiac arrest, getting CPR. Both Stanley and Teresa were pronounced dead at the ER that evening due to a cardiac arrest.
So they're probably unsavable.
Yes, they weren't able to be saved.
I don't know if that's a word, but you know what I meant.
Dr. Kim frantically called the Cook County Medical Examiner office and told them about this bizarre case. They told the rest of the family to remain quarantined because they didn't know what was going on. They thought maybe they had some crazy virus or something. Exactly. So they told the rest of the family to remain quarantined in Adam and Teresa's home, fearing that they might have this like rare virus or something that was about to spread and start a pandemic. Later that night, an investigator with the medical examiner's office, as well as police officers and one of the ER nurses at the hospital who worked on the family at the ER, came to the house to try to figure out what could possibly going on with this family.
What's the poison? That's what you need to find out, obviously.
At the time, they didn't know it was a poison. They don't know what's going on. So the team of investigators searched the home looking for any type of potential contaminant. When Nurse Jensen walked into the bathroom, she noticed a bottle of Tylenol sitting on the vanity. She thought back hours ago when Adam was first pronounced dead, and she recalled talking to his wife and her tearfully explaining the events of the day and saying when he felt sick, he bought a bottle of Tylenol, took it, and then went to lay down. So Nurse Jensen opened the bottle, she poured out all the capsules into her hand, and she started counting them. There were 18 capsules left in a 24-capsule bottle. This means that enough capsules were missing that 3 people could have taken 2 pills each.
Yeah, and that's why I always tell you to take the correct amount. You always take too many. Because this way, had something happen, they could figure out how many people took it. But miss, I take 4 pills over here. they'd be like, oh, Russ took some too, and I did not. And then they would try to pump my stomach and be like, leave me alone.
She immediately confiscated the bottle and brought it back to the medical examiner's office. Meanwhile, while this is all going on, okay, a fire lieutenant named Phil Capitelli got a phone call from his mother-in-law, who was incredibly distraught after finding out that one of her good friends' 12-year-old daughter, Mary Kellerman, died earlier that morning.
Oh, so this is what's going on, obviously. You got to go check the seals on all the bottles to make sure all the bottles were sealed right. Like when I would go to the store, if I open a bottle of Diet Cherry Pepsi, because that's what I've been drinking nowadays, if the things don't go click, 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 I bring that shit back.
Except this was 1982. And at this time, nothing had seals on it.
So
nothing was sealed back then.
Remember that thing where people were licking the ice cream not too long ago and putting it back?
Oh, no, I don't remember that.
Yeah, they were taking the top. I'm saying this is why you need seals. Who knows who's licking your food?
So this is a time when no medicines were sealed. This is before that time. Okay. So Lieutenant Phil Capitelli, he got a phone call from his mother-in-law, and she was super upset because she found out that her good friend's daughter, who was only 12 years old, Mary Kellerman, died earlier that morning. So Mary woke up complaining to her mom that she didn't feel good, and she had a horrible headache and body aches. Her parents decided to keep her home from school, so her mother, Regina, gave her a dose of Tylenol to help ease some of her symptoms. About 5 minutes later, Mary's father heard a loud thud in the bathroom. When he opened the bathroom door, he saw 12-year-old Mary unconscious on the floor. By the time the medics got to the house, little Mary was in cardiac arrest. They started CPR, and they actually worked on her all the way to the hospital, but she was down too long and pronounced dead in the ER.
This poison works fast.
Doctors didn't know what could have happened because this is a different hospital that she went to. She didn't go to the same hospital that the Janices went to, okay? So doctors were super unsure of what happened because she's a 12-year-old girl. So they were like, okay, could this be some type of congenital heart defect or something? The medic report did state that Mary took Tylenol for her headache prior to losing consciousness, but it didn't seem relevant. Kids take Tylenol all the time. Everyone takes Tylenol. So it didn't seem like a big deal. Later that night, Phil calls his fireman friend Richard Keyworth, just to talk about the day. And they were kind of comparing notes because they're both firemen. And Richard heard about Mary's sudden death, and the two men, started like going back and forth about it. Richard was on the scene at Mary's death, and Phil was told by a fellow fireman in his district about the Janus family and how 3 members of the same family mysteriously died, one after the other, that afternoon. The men noticed how similar the deaths were. So then Richard, he gets really quiet for a second, and then he says to Phil, this is like a wild stab in the dark, but do you think it has to do with the Tylenol? So Phil now reaches out to Dr. Kim and Nurse Jensen at Northwest Community Hospital. Nurse Jensen already had this theory, so Phil told them about Mary Kellerman's death. The medical examiner's office confiscated the bottle of Tylenol from the Kellermans. Now they're comparing both bottles of Tylenol to see if there's any common denominator. Both of the bottles were purchased at Jewel's supermarket. Both of them were extra strength, and both were capsules, not tablets. Okay, so capsules are the kind that you can actually open and the powder is inside.
Yeah, you can put anything you want in them.
When they poured the capsules out of the bottles, a strong odor of almonds was released. And the medical examiner said, cyanide. Cyanide smells just like almonds.
Oh, wow, I didn't know that.
I didn't either.
All this almond milk, all these hipsters would be dead.
True. So they called Cook County's chief toxicologist to get on the case, and he immediately analyzed the powder inside the capsules, and he confirmed the substance inside was not Tylenol, but potassium cyanide. The fatal dose of potassium cyanide is 6 to 7 milligrams. These capsules contained 65 milligrams each.
Oh, geez. So just like a drop of cyanide can kill you?
Yes.
Hopefully you can't buy that shit outside.
You can buy it off, on the black market.
That's crazy.
65 milligrams is 10,000 times more toxic than a human can handle. So these people wouldn't have been able to be saved. Like, there was no way.
Can't pump it out or nothing at that point.
Nothing. They tested the blood of the 4 victims and found that all 4 of them had lethal amounts of cyanide in their bloodstream. So in the 80s, Tylenol was hugely popular as a pain reliever. It was the go-to pain reliever medication, especially the capsule form, because they were softer and easier for people to swallow than the pill form. So people who have a hard time swallowing pills, they would automatically go for the capsule version. Johnson & Johnson had made $400 million on Tylenol just in that one year, 1982.
Yeah, because when I was young, anything that hurt, they'd be like, oh, just take a Tylenol. I don't remember like aspirin or Advil or anything when I was a kid.
Yeah.
I'm curious though, I'm trying to look up now as you're talking, what was the original intended use for cyanide?
The original intended use?
Yeah, like how did it come about? How was it invented? I know like cyanide is in like cigarettes and shit.
No, I don't know what the original
people smoke cigarettes. If you
use.
smoke cigarettes, don't smoke cigarettes. That's gross.
So Johnson & Johnson had no idea what was going on with these deaths because it's 4 deaths in a suburb of Chicago, and it's not like widely known yet. But a few days after this happened, a local reporter contacted Johnson & Johnson for comment. They immediately put together a task force to conduct an internal investigation because Johnson & Johnson, then they got freaked out. They were like, oh my God, someone's using our medication to drug and kill people? Like, first of all, that's horrible. Second of all, this is going to totally taint their name. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so cyanide is actually used in the manufacturing of paper, textiles, plastics, and it's also used to develop photographs.
Oh.
Metal cleaning, removing gold from its ore, whatever that means.
Okay.
And cyanide has also been used in by the Germans in World War II to poison people, and possibly in the 80s in the Iraq War.
Oh, wow.
Cyanide gas may have been used along with other chemical agents on the Kurdish.
Wow. Okay.
So, I don't know if they're Kurdish people, it's a Kurdish area or whatever, but that's what that was saying. Because I was curious, what it was used for. Like, what is its purpose? Mm-hmm. How did it get here?
Yeah.
things like that.
Good job, researcher Russ. Russ, the researcher, is on the case.
Russ, the researcher, is back for the first time in 2023.
Yeah, there you go. So Johnson & Johnson puts together this task force because they want to know what's going on, and they don't want their name getting tainted by this. So they're like trying to nip this in the bud really quick. They recalled 94,000 bottles of Tylenol within one day from the shelves. So this is before the internet, and the community came together to spread the word. Police actually went out in their patrol vehicles over their speakers and told everybody, throw out your Tylenol, don't buy Tylenol. They put local Boy Scouts out there with little papers to pass out to everyone. They were passing out papers telling everybody, throw away your Tylenol. Church groups were going out telling everyone door to door to throw it away.
But no one answers the door for church people, so they probably didn't get to anyone. If you see a woman with a long-ass skirt with flowers on it, you don't answer the door.
Okay. Then it made it to the national news. And a widespread Tylenol panic ensued in America. You don't remember this. I wasn't born yet, but you were born, but you don't remember this because you were only 1 year old.
I was not born yet.
But people who lived in the 80s remember this Tylenol panic, and it all stemmed from this situation. Last year, save more money was the most popular New Year's resolution in America. Clearly, a lot of us feel like our money is slipping through our fingers. Well, I don't know about you, but I'm not the best saver, and I don't know much about investing until I started saving and investing with Acorns. Turns out you don't have to be an expert at all because Acorns will recommend a diversified portfolio that fits you and your money goals. And I always thought that when people say, ooh, I invest in stocks, that they had a ton of money or something. Well, you don't need to be rich. Acorns lets you invest with the spare money you've got right now. You can literally start with $5. And you know you guys are spending that at Starbucks on these fancy lattes. So skip the coffee and invest with Acorns. You don't even need a ton of time. Like you can just sign up and start investing within 5 minutes. Head over to acorns.com/wifeofcrime or download the Acorns app to start saving and investing for your future today. That's acorns.com/wifeofcrime. You guys already know because we have been talking about them for a while now. Via Hemp is by far one of our favorite sponsors we've ever had, okay? We use their products all the time. Maybe you're a little like me. You're a little anxious. You have a hard time settling down. You're kind of wound up a lot. If that's you, Via Hemp products are for you. Check out their website. You will find something that speaks to you. Maybe you're like Russ. You have a hard time sleeping because you have bad nerve pain or chronic pain. Then Via Hemp is for you because their gummies will help you get some quality sleep. Maybe you're looking to have a really good time. Maybe you just really like edibles. You want to laugh. You want to get the munchies. You want to watch a movie and have a really strong belly laugh. Then Via Hemp products are for you, okay? They're literally for everybody. So head over to viahemp.com, promo code wifeofcrime1 to get 15% off your first order. That's VIIAHEMP.com. Wife of Crime #1 for 15% off your first order. So as the news spread, sudden and suspicious deaths were kind of being closer looked into, you know? There were 2 cases that stood out. So on Wednesday, September 29th, the same day as the other deaths, a lady named Mary McFarland complained to her coworkers that she was having a horrible headache. She'd been suffering from frequent migraines, so she always had a little tin in her purse with pain reliever in it. She carried it on her all the time. So Mary went to her break room.
Probably like an Altoid tin, if I had to guess.
Yeah, back then before Altoids. So she went to her break room, she took some medication, and literally a few minutes later, she told her coworkers she was nauseous and dizzy, and then she suddenly collapsed.
Oof.
She was rushed to the hospital where she died the following morning.
Question is, who's doing this? That's where we're going now.
Yeah. Detectives found Tylenol in her purse. They sent it to the lab, and it was positive for cyanide. Another woman named Mary Reiner, who was only 27 years old. She was a mother of 4, and she had just given birth to her 4th child a few days earlier. She was feeling really sore after giving birth, and the hospital gave her a care package to go home with after giving birth, and in the care package was Tylenol.
Oh, shit. So
she got it from the hospital.
It's somewhere from the manufacturer, because I was starting to think like someone just went into the local drugstore and did it in the drugstore, but now it could be from the manufacturer. And I was starting to think, I wonder if it was someone that worked at the drugstore. But hospitals don't get their medicine from a drugstore.
Well,
they buy it from the Costco of medicine.
Well,
they get it in bulk.
Not necessarily back then. Okay. This is a community hospital. It's a very small hospital. They didn't necessarily buy it from the manufacturer, but we'll get into that later. So she was rushed to the hospital after collapsing in her home, and she died the next day. She just gave birth to her 4th baby. After Mary Reiner died, all the hospitals in the region destroyed all the Tylenol they had. At 5 p.m. on October 1st, Paula Prince was found laying dead in her Chicago apartment by her sister after she failed to make it to work that day. She was a flight attendant, and she had never done a no-call, no-show. So her sister was listed as her emergency contact. The airline reached out to her sister to see if she knew where Paula was, and she didn't know, so she stopped by her apartment to check on her sister, and she found her sister lying dead in her apartment and a bottle of Tylenol on her bathroom vanity.
Crazy.
In total, 31 million bottles of Tylenol would be taken off the shelves in a matter of a few days. This all started on...
Who counted all those bottles? How do they know?
Johnson & Johnson. They recalled all of them and collected all of them.
Oh.
So by October 5th, which is only 6 days after the first people died from the Tylenol killings, the FBI was on the case. The news hit national media and caused widespread panic. People started flooding ERs all over the country, scared that they may be poisoned from taking Tylenol.
Yeah, because we're all hypochondriacs. Like, don't check WebMD if you have anything wrong with you, because they have the arrows that lead left and right and all these questionnaires, and they all lead to death.
It's true.
So stay off that shit.
We always tell people don't Google any symptoms, because any symptom you Google, it's going to say you have cancer.
Yeah, my mom always, I can't tell her anything. She's doomsday, worst case scenario. Always, that's dying. Got to go to the emergency room.
Well, all of these people were super freaked out. They thought that they were poisoned from Tylenol. The most baffling part is that all the victims bought the Tylenol from different stores. Okay?
Were they in the same neighbor?
They were in the same region. It was all Chicago and the suburbs around Chicago.
Yeah, because someone could have a car.
But they were all from different stores, and all the stores got the bottles from different production plants. So, how does an investigator even begin with that? Well, that's crazy to think about.
Back then, there's not a lot of cameras, so you can't see the one person that went in, opened a bottle, took a couple pills out, and dropped a couple pills in. Because this is obviously what's going on. Now we just we have to figure out how to find this person. But sometimes these people want, they return to the scene of the crime, and they want a little notoriety. Mm-hmm. So that's how you would catch them. Eventually, it's like a groundhog. They're going to come up looking for the sun, and if he sees his shadow, he's guilty.
Well, they started testing some of the recalled bottles. Over 10 million capsules were tested, and 50 contained cyanide. But it was 50 capsules over 8 bottles.
Yep. Oh, 8 bottles. So it's not that many, because I would say if it's 50 capsules and 50 different bottles, that means he could have killed 50 people.
Yeah, so it was 50 capsules over 8 bottles, but no fingerprints or physical evidence was found on the bottles. No fingerprints on the bottles. So investigators started to theorize that whoever did this purchased the bottles, put the poison capsules in the bottles, and then returned the bottles to the various stores on September 28th, like you said. They had to have taken the bottles, put them in there, and then returned the bottles in the actual stores, not from the manufacturing plant. But they had to do it on September 28th, and they thought this because cyanide, if it's left in the capsules too long, it would have eaten through the capsules.
Oh, shit.
So it couldn't have been placed there from the manufacturing
See, I'm not a cyanidologist.
plant, but instead, the capsules had to be placed in there right before they were consumed. So the person that did this had to be in Chicago.
Oh, definitely. And they didn't necessarily have to purchase them because you're in a store. You could open a bottle, pull a pill out, and put a pill in. Mm-hmm. So you didn't necessarily have to purchase them, return them, because I didn't think you could return medicine.
Well, this is all bad. Look, so this particular case that we're talking about changed all of medicine purchasing. And we'll talk about that later. Yeah.
And soda bottles. Now they have the clicky things.
So on October 6th, Chicago police receive a call from a local bar owner who said that one of his regulars was drinking there and started bragging about having cyanide in his home.
Knew it. They always want a little recognition.
So this guy's name was Roger Arnold. He was kind of known to be a little bit of a weirdo.
Roger Corn Arnold.
And he also worked on the dock at Jewel Food Store Warehouse. Okay? Jewel Grocery is a store that 2 of the contaminated bottles had been purchased at. So police arrested Roger Arnold on October 11th and began questioning him. He admitted that he purchased cyanide and he bragged about it.
But when you're bragging, what is your intended use?
Well, he admitted that he's an amateur chemist. He loved messing around with chemicals in his home, but he denied being the Tylenol killer. He did let the police search his home without a search warrant. He told them, you can go search my home. And they found manuals on how to make poison, a beaker set, and some powder, white powder. The powder was tested and it came back as potassium, not potassium cyanide. According to coworkers, he said a lot of bizarre things, like he wanted to throw acid on someone. He wants to poison people. These are the kind of things he would say to his coworkers. He even worked with one of the victims' fathers, Mary Reiner, the woman who just gave birth. He worked with her father at the Jewel Grocery Warehouse. A lot of really crazy coincidences, but there was nothing that they could definitively pin on him. So Roger Arnold was charged with multiple weapons violations, but he was released on bond. And cops didn't have anything to really prove that he did this. On that same day that they arrested Roger Arnold, a letter arrived to the manufacturing plant in Pennsylvania. The letter said, "Gentlemen, as you can see, it's easy to place cyanide into capsules, sitting on store shelves, and since the cyanide is in gelatin, it's easy to get buyers to swallow the bitter pill. Another beauty is that cyanide operates quickly, and it takes so very little. And there will be no time to take countermeasures. If you don't mind the publicity of these little capsules, then do nothing. If you want to stop the killing, you will wire $1 million to the following bank account." So
Nope.
they received this letter.
That's crazy. You know what the letter said to me?
What?
I'm the problem, it's me.
Well, yeah, he's saying, I will keep doing this unless you give me $1 million.
Who sings that song?
Taylor Swift.
Why do I hear that song everywhere?
The bank account was linked to a man from Chicago named Frederick Miller McAhee. But he is the heir to the Miller Brewing fortune. So they quickly, Miller, the beer.
Yeah.
So they quickly ruled him out.
That piss water. Who drinks that shit?
Miller Lite.
I've never seen anyone drink a Miller Lite.
Miller Lite? People drink Miller Lite all the time.
In my entire life, I've never seen anyone drink a Miller Lite. I've seen commercials, but they don't even have commercials. Well, I don't watch commercials.
I feel like I see people drink Miller Lite. It's like Coors Light.
I've never served a Miller Lite in a bar, and I've served thousands of beers.
Well.
Have you ever served a Miller Lite in a bar?
Yes, I've served Miller Lite in bars.
That's because you're a redneck.
No, I'm not. So this guy, Frederick Miller McAhee, he's the heir to the Miller Brewing fortune. So they quickly rule him out because he doesn't need the money. He has tons of money, and he has no motive.
Yeah, he's brewing poison of his own in those piss bottles.
So it's clear to cops that someone is using this account to throw them off. So they go to Friedrich Miller and they go, hey, who would do this to you? Who would use your bank account? Do you have anyone that has a vendetta against you? And he says immediately the name Robert Richardson.
Robert Corn Richardson is back in the building, folks.
It's a different guy than the other one.
What was the other guy's name?
Roger Arnold.
Why did
He's done. They're done with him.
I lose track of all the names. I just remember it was R.
Yeah, Roger Arnold.
I'm embarrassed.
So Robert's
Jesus Christ.
So Robert's wife worked for a travel agency that Friedrich Miller used to own. When the business shut down, all the employees' paychecks bounced, and that really pissed off Nancy and Robert.
As it should.
So Robert started hassling Friedrich and swore to him that he would get him investigated by the police. So now the FBI decides, okay, this might be the guy. They make wanted posters with Robert Richardson's face on it, and they put him everywhere, all over the country, and even on the nightly news. So Dan Rather with CBS Evening News covered this story and showed the wanted poster.
Is Dan Rather still alive?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, outlived Barbara Wawa.
The FBI immediately gets a call from a police chief in Kansas City, Missouri, who says that he knew the man in the picture. But his name is not Robert Richardson. His name is actually James Lewis. And he was investigated a long time ago for a murder that happened in 1978. So now this nationwide manhunt starts, and they all are trying to find James Lewis. So Robert Richardson is not his real name. He was just using that name. His real name is James Lewis, and everybody is trying to find him now.
Do they have pictures of him? They know what he looks like?
Yeah, they have pictures of him. Mm-hmm. On Halloween that year, 40 cities completely banned trick-or-treating because everyone is scared to death at this point. And this is when everyone started freaking out about your candy being poisoned. Do you remember? Did your parents go through your candy? Well, first of all, were you allowed to trick-or-treat? Did you guys celebrate Halloween?
I trick-or-treated before my mom joined the cult. And then she joined the cult and I couldn't trick-or-treat. But you know what was always weird? They were like, you can't go trick-or-treating because they might put drugs in your candy and shit.
Mm-hmm.
Ain't no drug addicts giving you their drugs.
No, Russ. There were 2 cases. This one and then a case where someone actually did poison children's candy. Those 2 cases happened in the either the 70s and 80s or the 80s, and that caused all this panic, and that's why parents go through their kids' candy. So now, this is when they started, producing tamper-proof bottles with these special seals. And now all of our medicine has seals on it. Any over-the-counter drug that you buy has a seal on it, has the clicky top, has cotton ball inside, like all these different things to show if something is tampered with.
Everything, not even just medicine.
Yeah, everything. So the letter that was sent to the manufacturing plant, it was sent from New York City. So they began searching New York City for James Lewis and his wife. Her name is actually Leanne. The FBI agents went block to block in Manhattan searching for him. The Chicago Tribune started receiving letters signed by James Lewis's alias, Robert Richardson. So he kept using the name Robert Richardson.
Double R.
In the letters, he claimed he didn't commit the murders. He also was referencing specific details that the media coverage was speaking about on TV. So they knew that he was watching the whole investigation. He was like watching everything. And he kept talking about it. He also included photocopies of newspaper articles, and he would attach them to his letters. So this is 1982. So the FBI realizes at this time, where do you get access to a copy machine back then? There's only really one place that the public has access to a copy machine.
The library.
The library.
Guess who's the profiler?
So after a few weeks of combing through the city, the FBI receives a tip from a librarian. It's now December of 1982. She calls and tells them that there's a man here who looks a lot like James Lewis, sitting at a desk, looking at an address book, searching for addresses to major newspapers all over the country. So the FBI comes right away and they arrest the man. And it is James Lewis. So they finally get him into custody.
You know what I have a problem with? On TV, librarians are always hot. But in real life...
They're always hot?
Yeah, they have like the hair in a little messy bun. They have like the big nerdy glasses on.
Oh.
But in real life, it ain't ever happened.
I don't know. There's probably hot librarians out there.
Well, there's no more librarians because...
Yes, there is.
The internet.
People still work in libraries.
Yeah, but that's not... They're going away, which is sad, but technology advanced and everything's free.
Well,
Shout out to the hot librarians.
Well, they end up getting James Lewis in custody. And his wife, Leanne, turns herself in the next day. So the fingerprints on the letter that was sent to the manufacturing plant match Lewis's fingerprints. But sadly, the FBI did not have enough evidence to charge him with the murders, and he completely denied having anything to do with it. He said that he only used it as an opportunity to send this letter to get Friedrich Miller framed for the crime.
And that seems like a legitimate excuse as well, but I don't believe him.
So Lewis had a really sketchy past. So the FBI definitely believed he was the guy. When he was 19 years old, he chased his mother with an axe. Then in 1966, he was committed to a mental hospital after overdosing on pills, and he was diagnosed with schizophrenia. He was also charged and then acquitted with the murder of a man named Raymond West, who was found dismembered in his own attic in the summer of 1978.
Oh, damn.
He was acquitted because the police didn't read him his Miranda rights when he was arrested.
That shit only happens on TV.
No, this happened in real life.
Well, don't happen in real life no more.
Yeah, the police didn't read him his Miranda rights, because so his case was thrown out.
Yeah, but you could just say I read it to him. There's no cameras. He didn't read it to me. Oh, yes, I did.
Yeah, well, this got this guy off. But James Lewis and his wife, this is a very interesting detail, okay? And this is one thing.
Did you just say, hey, Russ, pay attention?
Yes. And this is one thing that makes people question him being the guy a little bit. James Lewis and his wife bought train tickets to New York City, Amtrak train tickets, on September 4th, 25 days before the Tylenol murders. And like I said earlier, cyanide couldn't have been put in the bottles for that long. So the FBI believes that him and his wife came all the way to New York City, but then he flew back to Chicago on September 28th, followed through with the poisoning plan, and then went back to New York City.
But were the tickets used? Is there a way to see?
They were
were used.
Yeah.
Okay. Because I was going to say, maybe they bought them and didn't use them, or maybe they let someone else use them.
No, they did use them, and they did check into a hotel in New York City.
Okay.
So, like I said, they didn't have enough evidence to charge him with the murders, but instead charged him with extortion because of the letter he wrote requesting the $1 million. He was convicted of 30 years, but he would only serve 13 years. While he was in prison, he called the FBI and offered to help them solve the Tylenol murders. He drew extensive...
I'm the problem, it's me.
He drew extensive diagrams of how someone could inject the capsules with cyanide and pull off the cyanide Tylenol murders.
I wonder if cyanide is a liquid or if it's a
powder.
Oh,
yes.
So you don't have to inject it. You just open that shit and fill it.
Well, he drew extensive diagrams on how it can be done. He was released from prison in 1995, and now he and his wife currently live in Cambridge, Massachusetts.
Huh.
In 2007, a task force was created because this is still a cold case. So in 2007, the FBI created a new task force to try and solve the Tylenol murders because we have a lot of new technology now. And it's, so much better. We have DNA, we have all this other stuff. So the FBI lifted layers of ink off the extortion letter and learned that the letter was actually sent on October 1st, which means the day the letter was sent, the Tylenol murders had not made it to national news yet. It had only been 2 days. James Lewis claimed that he first learned about the murders while reading a New York Times article.
So he wrote the letters before before it even happened?
No, before it made national news. The murders started happening on September 29th. The letter was sent on October 1st. So James Lewis swore multiple times under oath that it took him days to make and send the letter. So if that's the case, and the letter was sent on October 1st, he would have had to create it on September 29th, the day the victims died. They used this information to get a search warrant for his condo in Massachusetts in 2007, years and years after the murders. And in the condo, buried in stacks of paper, they found a detailed timeline of everything that him and his wife did from September 1st of 1982 through the rest of the fall. This timeline, it was like a calendar, and it was super detailed. Every place they went, everything they bought.
Wait.
Even as small as buying a frying pan.
Who wrote this down?
He did.
He wrote every little thing they did?
He wrote a record in September of 1982 of everything him and his wife did from September through the end of the fall. And he wrote every detail, even as small as buying a frying pan. Everything they bought, every place they went, everything.
That's weird.
But the dates of September 25th through midnight of September 29th were completely blank. Nothing was written on those days. They also found a book on poisoning, and his fingerprints are on page 196, which describes how much potassium cyanide is needed to kill the average human. But still, they didn't have enough to charge him.
It's circumstantial,
no DNA,
man.
No witnesses, no surveillance footage, no confession, all circumstantial evidence. So he was never charged with the Tylenol murders. James Lewis wrote a book in 2010 called Poison, The Doctor's Dilemma.
What?
About a city in Missouri that had its water poisoned. He claims it has nothing to do with this Tylenol murders. He just thought it up out of top of his head.
You know what? If I was the family member of one of these people that died, I know it's all circumstantial, but I'm going to come and pay you a visit.
Well, James is now in his 70s, and he's currently living with his wife in Massachusetts. In 1983, Congress passed the Tylenol bill, which makes it a federal crime to tamper with labels. And then in 1989, Congress passed a regulation that companies must have tamper-proof seals on all medications. So that's what came out of this whole case. This past September was the 40th anniversary of the Tylenol murders. And it looks as if it will never truly be solved. The victims will most likely never receive justice, sadly. But I think many firmly believe that James Lewis has gotten away with these murders.
What's crazy is, because he's still alive, he could listen to this podcast.
Yeah, he could be listening right now.
But probably not, because he's 79 and...
Well, he's 70-something. I don't know exactly how old he is.
I don't know. I said 9 then. When you're 70-something, you most likely didn't download any podcast.
Most likely.
But some people do, because I'm going to be a hip 79-year-old that's down with the times. I'm never going to be the get off my lawn guy.
Well, he could be listening right now. And he claims that he had nothing to do with this. And that's it.
Hey, yo, James, hit me up. Let me know if you did it.
He's not going to tell anybody.
On his rotary phone.
And that,
for the youngins, that's like a dial. Look it up, rotary phone.
And that's the case of the Tylenol murders. And it's still unsolved today. And they have all this circumstantial evidence. And, you know, a lot of people kind of blame the prosecutors, because the prosecutors for Chicago refuse to prosecute him, because I think that they know that if he gets a good defense attorney, like, it's all circumstantial.
Yeah, he'll win.
There's no proof of anything.
People have been convicted with less.
They have.
Many times.
But no one's taking this case. So he's just living his life in Massachusetts. So all of our listeners from Cambridge, protect your neck. Seriously.
Okay.
Watch out.
Okay, old dirty bastard.
All right. And that's our case this week. I found that one really, really fascinating because I literally took 2 Tylenol Excedrin, 2 Excedrin migraines last night and today because I had a massive headache. And I was thinking to myself when I was writing this, like, oh my God, imagine you just go buy Tylenol, ibuprofen from the store, you have a headache, you take it. Like, it's just something you don't even think about.
I don't take
Tylenol. And then
Tylenol.
You drop dead. That's crazy to me.
I don't take none of that.
Yes, you do take it sometimes,
When?
Russ. Anybody takes it for a headache.
Well, no,
I've given it
I don't
to
take
you
it for headaches.
headaches.
I don't take it for only if I have like a really bad fever.
Okay, I've given you medicine when you've had headaches and pains, and anybody does. And the fact that people could just drop dead from taking an over-the-counter medication is so terrifying.
That is terrible and terrifying.
It is. Thanks for tuning back in, guys.
This is where I jump in and say, don't forget we got dope-ass T-shirts and we don't got any hats. Chicken Parm Lou hit me up, was like, yo, you got any hats? Nah, but Lou got a big head, so we'd have to get a big head. We're going to get some hats.
Anyway. We actually have Jade, our girl Jade. She's working on some new merch designs, so they should be coming out soon. Shout out to Jade. We love you. And we'll be dropping those in the next few months. Well, check us out on Instagram at Wife of Crime Pod and Facebook at Wife of Crime, the Crime Family, and Patreon at Wife of Crime Pod. And have a wonderful week, guys. We'll check you later.
Protect your neck.
Bye.
Peace.